You know that feeling.
Hmm.
You're maybe trying to speak English, perhaps at a work thing, or just, waiting for coffee.
Hmm.
And someone's nearby, they look over, maybe they even smile. And you think, okay, say something, but your mind just blanks.
Oh, absolutely. That slight panic, right? Where you feel like you should say something, but what?
Exactly. What do you say? How do you even start? It just feels so awkward sometimes.
It's a really common challenge, that. Feeling like you don't have the right script or the right topic,
Hmm.
and the silence just stretches, gets uncomfortable fast.
Yeah, it really does. And it feels like this wall almost stops you making those simple little connections or just feeling okay in everyday English situations.
Uh-huh.
But maybe there's a way around that awkwardness. We've actually been looking into some material today that's basically a guide for exactly this, for
Hmm.
handling, well, small talk in English.
Yeah, this deep dive, it's really focused on those fundamentals. What is
Yeah.
this thing we call small talk? Why does it matter so much, especially in, English-speaking places?
Yeah.
And it gives some really practical pointers on, well, how to navigate those first few moments.
Okay, so that's our mission today then. To really unpack what this material tells us, we're going to look at what small talk actually is and maybe what it isn't,
Right.
why it's important culturally speaking, and then the really practical stuff like what are the good topics? What should you probably avoid?
Yeah, the do's and don'ts.
Exactly. And how knowing the kind of cultural rules around it can help you feel less awkward and just more natural when you're chatting in English.
The goal really is to shift from feeling kind of stressed about it to feeling more confident, more at ease. Because as we'll see, small talk isn't just filler. It's actually a pretty key skill for, building rapport, feeling connected.
Okay, let's get into it. Definition first. What exactly is small talk, based on what we've looked at?
So fundamentally, it's light conversation, casual. The material really emphasizes this. It's not the time for deep, serious, or heavy subjects.
Right, so no big life problems, no complex political analysis.
Exactly. It's about everyday stuff, things that are easy to talk about, non-controversial, keeping it light.
Okay, keeping it light. But it's not just random chatter, is it? The material suggests it actually serves a purpose. Several purposes, in
But
fact.
definitely. A big one is just making people feel comfortable. Easing that initial potential stiffness when people first come together or share a space, like a social icebreaker.
Yeah, like smoothing things over, putting people at ease before you get into anything else.
Exactly. It also helps start building connections, even small, brief ones.
Uh-huh.
And probably most relevant to that awkward feeling we started with, it just makes social situations feel less, well, awkward. It fills the silence.
It's the silence breaker. Okay. The material had a good example, didn't it? Like two strangers on a plane.
Yes, that was a great illustration. The point was, they wouldn't just sit down and immediately start talking about their deepest fears or, I don't know, the meaning of life.
Haha. No, that would be intense, really
Uh-huh.
out of place.
Totally. Instead, the material suggested something really simple, like, um, looks like we might have a bit of a delay, or maybe, wow, that turbulence is stronger than I expected.
Or even just looks like we're going to have a smooth flight today, something really basic.
And that simple comment, right? Smooth flight today.
Hmm.
It does a lot. It acknowledges the shared situation you're both there on that plane.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks the silence, but in a really low-pressure way. Opens the door for maybe a quick back and forth.
Yeah.
It just creates this little bubble of comfortable connection where there was just, well, silence. Makes the whole thing feel a bit less anonymous.
That example really nails it. It's about noticing something shared, something simple, and just commenting on it lightly. Okay, now the material also really stressed the cultural side of this, especially in English-speaking cultures.
Yes, that was a really key takeaway.
Yeah.
It basically said that in many of these cultures, small talk isn't just, optional politeness. It's often expected. It's kind of the standard way you start things off.
Expected. So, like, if you don't do it, it's noticed, maybe even seen negatively.
That's what the material suggests, yeah. That skipping it and jumping straight into, say, business or a serious topic can feel a bit weird or maybe too formal.
A bit weird. Okay, it gave that meeting example, right?
Exactly. The contrast between, walking into a meeting room in the US or UK and immediately saying, right, let's get down to business, versus starting with a quick, hey, how was your weekend? Or crazy weather, huh?
Right. And the material said that jumping straight in might make you seem a bit too serious or even unfriendly.
Precisely. It sets a certain tone, doesn't it? Maybe a bit cold, purely focused on the task, not acknowledging the people there.
Yeah.
Whereas that little bit of small talk first, it establishes some human connection,
Yeah.
however brief, before you dive into the main agenda. It's about building that basic rapport.
So understanding that expectation is really important then if you want to feel, like the material said, more natural in those English conversations. It's part of fitting in socially.
It really is. It's more than just words. It's a social skill, a cultural skill even. It's like the social lubrication that helps interactions run smoothly.
The social glue. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's the conversational handshake, kind of.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. It prepares the ground, makes the initial contact feel pleasant.
All right, so we know what it is, and we know why it's often expected. We've got the what and the why. So the next big question is the how, or rather the what about. What do you actually talk about? What are the safe topics?
Yes, and the material gives a really useful list here. Topics that, it says, work in almost any situation, your go-to options.
And number one on the list, no surprise maybe, the weather.
Ah, yes, the undisputed champion. The material even says, it sounds basic, but trust me, it works.
Uh-huh.
And it works because it's universal, right? Wherever you are, whatever you do, there's weather happening. It's a shared reality right there.
And it mentioned it's popular pretty much everywhere English is spoken, US, UK, Canada, Australia. But it had that specific note about the UK, didn't it?
It did. That in the UK, talking about the weather is practically a national hobby, which is quite funny, but also telling.
A national hobby, so it's really ingrained there.
It suggests it's more than just a default. It's a really common, accepted, super low-risk way to start chatting. And the phrases are simple, right? Nice day today.
Yeah.
Or, wow, it's freezing out. Or the classic British, looks like rain.
Just stating the obvious, basically, but in a friendly way.
Exactly. Shared observation. Easy.
Okay, so weather is top of the list. Safe, simple, works everywhere. What's next?
Weekend plans. That's another one flagged as safe and easy. Most people are pretty comfortable chatting about their downtime.
Yeah, what they did or what they're gonna do, and the questions are straightforward. Got any fun plans for the weekend? Good for a Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Or the classic Monday morning, how was your weekend?
Perfect openers. They show interest, but it's general, not nosy. People can talk about relaxing, hobbies, seeing friends. It keeps it light.
And it works in lots of situations, right? Colleague, neighbor, someone new.
Absolutely. And even if they say something simple like, oh, just relax, you can still follow up easily. Oh, nice, watch anything good. Keeps it going.
Good point. Okay, so weather, weekend plans. What was the third one? Travel.
Yes, travel. The material pointed out that, well, everyone loves talking about travel. Or at least most people do.
Yeah, it taps into positive stuff, holidays, dreams, exploring.
Right. It's generally an appealing topic.
Right.
And the suggested questions are good starting points. Been on any trips lately? Or maybe more aspirational, what's your dream travel destination?
Those are nice, open questions. And this is where that follow-up idea comes in strongly, isn't it?
Exactly. The material uses the example. If someone says, oh, I just got back from Paris, you don't just nod.
Right, you got to ask more.
Yeah. The suggestion was, oh, wow, amazing. What was your favorite part? That shows you're actually listening. You're interested. It keeps the conversation flowing, turns a simple fact into a little story.
That follow-up is so crucial. It's about being engaged, not just firing off questions. It's how you, like the material said, keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. It's a two-way street. Even for brief chats, follow-ups are key.
Okay. And the last safe topic recommended, food.
Ah, yes, food, called super easy because, well, everyone eats. Like weather, it's universal.
So many possibilities there. Restaurants, cooking.
Right. The examples were simple questions like, tried any good restaurants lately, or do you like cooking?
Easy entry points.
Yeah, because most people have something to say about food,
Yeah.
right? A cafe they like, a meal they cooked, something they enjoyed eating, materials, and boom, you have a conversation.
Instant conversation.
Pretty much. It doesn't require deep thought, just sharing simple experiences or preferences.
Okay, so those are our 4 big safe zones. Weather, weekend, travel, food. Let's just pause on that. Why these 4, based on everything we've said about small talk?
Well, if we think back to the purpose light, comfortable, connection, low risk, these topics tick all the boxes, don't they? First, they're generally neutral. You're unlikely to start a fight talking about clouds or pasta.
Right, minimizes conflict. Good point.
Second, they don't require you to reveal anything super personal. Talking about a trip or liking pizza is pretty low stakes compared to, say, your salary or your health.
Keeps it comfortable, maintains boundaries. Yeah.
Exactly. And third, most people can join in. You don't need special knowledge to comment on it being sunny or say you're looking forward to Saturday. They're accessible.
Accessible, neutral, low disclosure. That makes sense why they're the go-tos. They achieve the goal of small talk without introducing problems.
Precisely. They are fundamentally designed for easy, friendly, low-risk interaction.
Okay, super helpful. So
Yeah.
we've got our safe toolkit, but equally important, maybe even more important sometimes, is knowing what not to talk about. The danger zones.
Yes, the material is very clear on this too. Knowing what topics to avoid is crucial for keeping small talk smooth and positive.
And the first big red flag topic was politics.
Yep. Straightforward reason given, people have very strong opinions, and it can escalate into a debate very, very quickly.
Which is the opposite of light and easy. And it had that note, especially in the U.S.
Right, acknowledging that in some places, political discussion is particularly polarized and sensitive. Small talk aims for comfort. Politics often brings tension. Unless you know someone really well and agree to go there, it's just not the place for it in a casual chat.
Yeah, trying to build a bridge, not dig a trench. Okay, so politics is out. What's next on the avoid list?
Money. Very clearly stated. Asking things like, how much do you make? Or how much did that cost? Makes people uncomfortable.
And it mentioned that in many cultures, including English-speaking ones, talking money with strangers or casual acquaintances is just considered rude.
Absolutely. Personal finances are private. Asking direct questions about income or spending is intrusive. It puts people on the spot, makes them feel awkward or judged. Again, totally counter to the purpose of easy, comfortable chat.
Okay, no politics, no money. Got it. The third tricky area was labeled personal topics.
Yes, with specific examples like asking someone's age, their weight, or their relationship status, things that, as the material says, can be a bit awkward.
Definitely awkward. And I like the alternative it gave. Instead of asking, are you married? Which is very direct and personal. It suggested asking something like, do you have any plans for the holidays?
That's a great distinction, isn't it? Age, weight, relationship status.
Mm.
These can be sensitive, complex, or just things people don't want to discuss with someone they barely know. The holiday question is still friendly and social, but it's about activities, about external things, not about someone's core personal details or status. It keeps the connection going without crossing that invisible line into intrusion.
Keeps it light, focuses on events, not intrinsic personal stuff. Good rule of thumb. And the last category to avoid.
Negativity. Starting off with the complaints, the material was quite blunt, launching into, ugh, I hate my job, or the city is terrible. It's not a good way to start small talk.
Because, as it reminded us, small talk should be light and positive. Keep it upbeat.
Exactly. Starting negative just brings the mood down immediately. It puts the other person in an awkward position. Do they agree? Do they try to cheer you up? It makes the interaction feel heavy, not pleasant. Small talk is meant to be a little lift, not a shared moaning session.
Right, share lightness, not grievances. Okay, so let's recap the don'ts then. Politics, money, nosy personal questions, age, weight, relationship status, and generally starting with complaints or negativity.
Spot on. They all introduce risk, conflict risk, privacy risk, or just the risk of making the whole interaction feel bad. And that's the opposite of what small talk is trying to achieve.
Okay, this is really mapping it out clearly. We've got the what, the why, the good topics, the bad topics. But then the material added another really important layer, the cultural context. Like it's not just what you say, but how and where, and that it can vary.
Yes, that's such a crucial point. It's about the performance of it, not just the script. Knowing these nuances, the material says, helps you feel more confident and natural. Because what feels right or normal in one place might be slightly different elsewhere, even within English-speaking cultures.
And it gave some real-world examples. The workplace was a key one.
Yeah, pointing out that small talk is really expected in many situations there, especially that time before a meeting gets going.
And the topics used there are safe ones again. Weekend, weather, maybe sports.
Right. It reinforces the topics, but puts them in that specific context. And that point about not just jumping straight into the agenda in the US or UK.
Yeah, that it could make you seem a bit too serious or even unfriendly.
That really highlights the cultural function, doesn't it? In many of those workplaces, that pre-meeting chat is part of the team dynamic, part of building rapport. Skipping it can feel like you're ignoring the social side of work, which can come across as cold. It's a buffer, a transition.
A social warm-up for the work. Makes sense. And beyond work, it mentioned everyday places too, like a coffee shop.
Yes, those brief interactions, like the barista asking, how's your day going?
And the example answer was great. Pretty good. Just getting coffee before work. How about you? Short, simple, friendly?
Yeah, exactly. It's tiny, right? but it makes the whole exchange feel more human, less purely transactional. It's that little moment of connection that makes the social world feel a bit warmer. It's not needed to get the coffee, but it's often expected for a pleasant interaction.
It's amazing how those tiny bits add up. It also mentioned public transport.
Right. Waiting for a bus, on the train.
Oh.
You might hear or say something about the situation. Like the examples, busy morning today, huh?
Right.
Or weather's been crazy this week.
Just noticing the shared environment again.
Exactly. And the material made the point that these small comments help people feel more connected, even with strangers. That's quite profound, actually.
Yeah.
It breaks down the anonymity a little, creates a fleeting sense of shared experience, even if you never speak again. A little nod to say, hey, we're in this together right now.
That's a lovely way to think about it, not just making friends, but just acknowledging shared humanity in public space. And it brought back the British weather thing here too, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Just reinforcing how much of a go-to it is there. Describing it again as an easy, neutral topic.
With those classic lines, lovely day, isn't it? Or, looks like rain again.
Yeah, and those examples, plus the national hobby comment earlier, really show how a seemingly simple topic becomes a kind of cultural ritual, a super reliable, safe way to open a channel of communication in that specific context. It's like a known code.
A code for I'm open to chatting. And comparing that strong focus on weather in the UK to maybe slightly different nuances elsewhere really highlights the cultural variations the material mentioned.
Exactly. It's not monolithic.
So pulling that together, the material really emphasized that practicing this stuff is essential for sounding natural.
Yes, and it specifically mentioned that if you come from a culture where maybe chatting with strangers isn't common,
Uh-huh.
you need to understand that in English-speaking countries, small talk is a normal and expected part of daily conversation.
That's such a key message. It might feel weird or forced at first if it's not your background, but the material is saying, look, this is how it often works here. It's part of the social fabric.
Yeah, it might require adjusting your perspective a bit, seeing these little chats not as pointless, but as functional,
Yeah.
as signals of friendliness, openness, ways to build comfort.
Okay, wow. We've really covered a lot digging into this material. We've got the definition, light, casual chat, the purpose, comfort, connection, breaking awkwardness.
Uh-huh.
We've got our safe topic list, weather, weekend, travel, food, and we know why they're safe.
Neutral, low disclosure, accessible.
And the topics to generally steer clear of politics, money, intrusive personal stuff, negativity, and why they don't fit the small talk mold.
Right, they introduce risk or discomfort.
And we've seen it in context work, coffee shops, public transport understanding. It's culturally embedded and expected, even with slight variations.
Absolutely.
It's simple on the surface, but kind of complex underneath. And the material didn't just explain it, it gave a little challenge, right, for you, the listener, to try it out.
Yeah, a very practical three-step challenge.
Step one, just do it. Start a small talk conversation in English sometime soon.
Step 2, use a follow-up question. Keep it going for a couple of turns. Sure you're listening.
And step 3, try to use one of the things we talked about today. A weather comment, ask about the weekend, mention food, something from the toolkit.
It's about taking the theory and making it active, stepping out there a little bit maybe, and just trying it. That's how you build a real confidence.
Turns knowing about it into knowing how to do it, because really mastering this, as our deep dive has shown, it's pretty fundamental for getting along in English-speaking places.
It really is key. For building relationships, just feeling comfortable day to day, sounding and feeling more natural yourself, it closes those awkward gaps, opens doors.
So as you're out and about, maybe think about this stuff. Notice those moments at the water cooler, waiting in line. And remember that point about the subtle differences, like the UK weather chat, versus maybe how it works elsewhere?
Yeah, those cultural flavors.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? That's a final thought maybe for you to mull over. How might those little differences in small talk, the topics, the timing, the places, how might they reflect deeper things about communication or culture in those different English-speaking societies?
That's interesting.
And maybe turn it inward, too. How does learning about these English expectations make you think about conversation in your own language or culture? What are the unwritten rules there? Are they similar? Totally different.
Makes you look at everyday interactions with fresh eyes, perhaps.
Exactly. So take these insights from our deep dive into small talk, maybe try that little challenge, and just keep noticing, keep practicing. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Keep listening, keep learning, and definitely keep talking.